Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the Robert Sellers podcast. I am Robert Sellers. I hope you all are having a fantastic day, whatever time of the day you're watching this. And this is a very special episode once again because we're previewing the weekend of college basketball. And I love doing this because college basketball is at its peak time right now. We just have a few big weekends left until the end of the regular season where Champ Week kicks off. And then we're getting into March Madness with Selection Sunday and then that whole process, which is just so beautiful. It's so phenomenal. This is my favorite time of year as a college basketball fan. And I can't wait to talk about the games this weekend. Now, quick PSA a public service announcement that I have to give out there before I start this podcast. I'm going on a retreat this weekend. In fact, I am helping lead a retreat this weekend. It's just outside Tuscaloosa, Alabama. I am not going to be watching college basketball this weekend, which is crazy because there's so many good games. But I will watch replays. I'll watch highlight videos to get caught up on this week's action. But even though I can't watch these games, I'm still going to talk about them beforehand. I'm still going to preview them, and I'm still going to get super psyched up for them, even though I'm not going to be able to watch them live. That being said, we're not going to waste any more time. Friday night, we have three fantastic basketball games. It's a big night in the MAC conference, starting out, of course, with Miami, Ohio, who is still 26-0, I believe, in the MAC conference. They're still undefeated. They're one of the year's best stories. They're the best MAC team of all time, probably, or like the team that has started out the season with the most consecutive wins in MAC history. They are going on the road at Western Michigan. Western Michigan's not very good. This is probably not going to be a very good game, but it's Miami, Ohio, so I have to mention it. It's at 5 p.m. Central Time. It's on CBS Sports Network. People are wondering, at what point does Miami, Ohio not make the tournament as an at-large bid? In my opinion, if they win at least two of their next four regular season games, and they only have four left. If they can win at least two of them, I believe that 100% guarantees them a spot in the tournament. Of course, we still have to see what other teams do that are on the bubble. But Miami, Ohio, going on the road against Western Michigan, it can never be an easy game on the road in the MAC, especially for Miami. They struggle in a lot of these games, but they're undefeated, and it's worth mentioning that they're playing on Friday night. But the big kahuna, the big time matchup, the top 10 showdown that's going on Friday night is on Fox at 7 p.m. Central between the Michigan Wolverines and the Illinois Illini. This is going to be an awesome game. It's in Champaign. Illinois and Michigan both are coming off of big losses, not necessarily during the week, but during the weekend. Illinois lost at the buzzer on the road to Donovan Dent and UCLA Bruins, and Michigan, of course, lost in that huge Titanic clash against the Blue Devils. So both teams are really hungry for a statement win here. It sort of seems like Illinois, they were at their peak after beating Nebraska and after crushing Nebraska. And it sort of felt like Illinois was going to be one of those best teams in the country. Everyone was talking about them like they were a Final Four contender. And I still think they are a Final Four contender, but they went on a little bit of a slide. And it sort of culminated with that loss on the road against a struggling UCLA team. So they're hungry. They really, really need a win to prove that they're on that title contention line that some people claim that they are. And then Michigan, on the other hand, was on a tear of tears. They were a buzzsaw. They were killing everybody. And then they lost to Duke, their first loss in a really long time since that home loss to Wisconsin. So now they really want to reestablish themselves as the dominant force in college basketball. So it sort of feels like we have two teams that really, really want this win. They're going to be playing their best basketball, and I cannot wait to watch it, or I can't watch it, unfortunately. You should not be able to wait to watch it because Illinois has the best offense in the history of Ken Pom and in the history of Bart Torvik and the history of Evan Mia and any sort of statistical anything that you look at. Illinois, this is the best offense that you may have ever seen in college basketball that Illinois has. They are spectacular. Keaton Wagler is one of the best freshmen this year in all of college basketball, which is crazy to say because there's so many good freshmen. The Vicic brothers, Tomislav and Big Z, have been playing better and better. David Mirkovic, I think, provides so much consistency to this lineup, not to mention the impact of Andres Stojakovic and Mihailo Petrovic, and the return of Kylan Boswell, which is a very important thing for Illinois because he's their point guard. He was injured for a while, and their offense was still so good without him. Now he's back, and he's starting to really get some rhythm that he lost after his injury. So he seems to be playing at 100%, but they're going up against the best defense in all of college basketball analytically in the Michigan Wolverines. I mean, Michigan's defense is fantastic. They dominate the front court. They've got so much size and athleticism, and they basically don't let you score in the paint at all. Adai Mara is 7'4". He just sits in the paint. He's basically the best defensive player in college basketball. He will get blocks. He will get rebounds. He will just hit the ball and chuck it down court on an outlet pass to Elliot Cadeau. He's electric to watch. So I cannot wait to see what happens when Michigan's electric, just elite defense goes up against the high flying, spectacular, efficient offense of Illinois. What's going to happen? Is Michigan first turnovers? Is Illinois going to get out and transition? What's going to happen? I can't wait to see it. If I were to pick a winner in this game, I would still pick the Michigan Wolverines just because I think they're such a good basketball team. But if this game comes down to a very close game late in the second half, if it's Keaton Wagler or if it's Elliot Cadeau, who's going to make the clutch shot? I'm thinking Keaton Wagler because I love that dude. I'm a big fan of give the ball to Keaton Wagler and just let him do something special at the end of the game for Illinois. But this is going to be an awesome one. This will determine, in my eyes, well, I guess Michigan will still be the best team in the Big Ten no matter what happens here, unless Illinois wins by like 30, and I don't think that's going to happen. But these are the best of the best in the Big Ten. These are the two best teams and debatably the best conference in college basketball. I think the best conference in college basketball is still the Big 12. But if you think it's the Big Ten, I will hear you out, and it's okay to say that. And these are the best two teams in that conference, in my opinion. So that's going to be the marquee matchup at 7 p.m. Central Time on Fox. It's going to be awesome to watch. But if you're a sicko, if you love college basketball and you love to find a team that's going to make a Cinderella run, you should turn on ESPNU at 7 p.m. Central Time for another MAC masterclass between Akron and Kent State. Miami, Ohio has really just sort of gotten so much attention out of the MAC, and rightfully so. They're undefeated. But Akron has slipped so under the radar. This team is 23-5. They're 14-1 in the MAC. Their only loss in conference was against Miami, Ohio by 3 points on the road. This Akron team is really, really good. They made the tournament last year. They've won so many games in a row in the MAC. It's crazy. This Akron team is unbelievably good. If they could very well win the MAC tournament and steal that bid. But they are going on the road against Kent State. Kent State's like 21-7. These are two really, really good teams that you could argue are tournament caliber that are squaring off. And this is why the MAC tournament is going to be so interesting because either option A, Miami, Ohio wins the MAC tournament, they get the bid, none of the other MAC makes it, or one of these two teams, Akron and Kent State, one of them could win the MAC tournament. I could easily see that happening. And Miami, Ohio would then also get an at-large bid, which means there would be two MAC teams in, and that would steal a bid from a Power Four contender. So this is just a preview. Akron at Kent State. It's a preview of what the MAC tournament's going to look like, which is going to be one of the most interesting tournaments in all of Champ Week. So if I was in front of my TV on Friday night, I would be doing a duo box between Michigan, Illinois, and Akron, Kent State. So that's my advice. If you're going to watch college basketball this weekend on Friday night, that's what you should do. But moving on to Saturday, we've got some fantastic games early on, close to the noon window. The first one, the biggest one, Virginia is on the road at Duke, 11 a.m. Central Time. Now, Virginia has been one of the teams that has really slid under the radar all year long. They're 24-3, which is insane. Under first-year coach Ryan Odom, they have been fantastic. But their knock, like the one knock on Virginia is, okay, yeah, I mean, they're 24-3. They got a great record. They're one of the best teams in the ACC, but they don't have a big win yet. They haven't gotten that marquee win that defines their team, that really shows they can compete with the highest level of college basketball teams. This is their opportunity. They're on the road at Cameron Indoor against the number one team in the country. Honestly, with Virginia, to me, I would just want to see them not get blown out in this game. If they lose this game by 10 points or less, to me, that's a major victory for Virginia. If they go on the road and win this game, they could realistically play themselves into a 2 seed. I 100% believe that, which again is absolutely bonkers when you consider that this is the first year under Brian Odom. He's doing such a good job. And this Virginia team, again, last year missed the tournament. Their offense was awful. And even the year before that, I think it was when they lost to Colorado State in the first four in Dayton, that game, that team was so awful to watch. Their offense was mind-numbingly terrible. This year has been such an amazing turnaround for this program, and it could culminate at the end of the regular season in a win over Duke and Cameron. We'll see. I don't think it's going to happen because Duke's defense is just absolutely phenomenal. It's so underrated. Everyone that's talked about Duke is, oh, it's Cam Boozer this, Isaiah Evans that, and rightfully so. Again, Cam Boozer's going to win National Player of the Year. He's fantastic. But what this Duke team rides on is their defense. That's what they predicate their success on. That's what John Shire does so well. Is they guard it at such an elite level. They rebound, they force turnovers. They're so, so good on the defensive side of the basketball. And to me, that's why they're going to win this game. But it'll be very interesting. It's the best of the best in the ACC. And I would love to watch this game at 11 a.m. Central Time on ESPN. But again, it's not the only big game going on at 11 a.m. Central. Seton Hall is at UConn. UConn is just coming off absolutely embarrassing St. John's in Gamble Pavilion. That game was not even close. I mean, literally, I think they won 71 to 40. Like that's crazy. So UConn is at a highest of highs right now after losing at home to Creighton. UConn is so weird. I mean, their team is all over the place. I think that the St. John's game was such a pinnacle of what this team is. Like, I don't think UConn is going to play a better game than they played against St. John's on Wednesday night. To me, that game was just that they gave 100% of their effort. Dan Hurley game planned for 100% for that game. That's why they played so well. But this game at home on Saturday against Seton Hall, is going to be an interesting one because Seton Hall's defense is really, really good. And Seton Hall is not quite on the bubble yet. They're a little bit outside of the bubble. But if Seton Hall can go on the road and upset UConn, first of all, it would help almost guarantee that St. John's wins the Big East title outright. But it also gives Seton Hall a chance for an at large bid if they have an impressive finish to the season and make a little bit of a run in the Big East tournament, which would help the Big East out as a whole. Because as of now, the only three teams that are set to make the tournament from the Big East are UConn, St. John's, and Villanova. If Seton Hall can win this game at UConn, they give themselves a chance for the Big East to maybe have that fourth team make the tournament, which would be really, really great for this conference. So I think if you're a Big East fan and you want to see more Big East basketball and more Big East teams succeed, you should be cheering the heck out of Seton Hall this week as the Pirates visit the Huskies. I just think it's gonna be a fun one. I mean, this is a really sleepy matchup for UConn. It's definitely they just had such an emotional win against St. John's. It's an 11 a.m. tip. I guess it's noon Eastern time. But it's a little bit of a sleepy start against a really good defensive team. They've struggled against defensive teams this year. Can Seton Hall go into on the road and win this game? I don't think so. I'm not picking it to happen, but it's an interesting one. Don't be surprised if you turn on your TV and it's late in the second half and this is a close game. I'm just saying it's very possible. After those two 11 o'clock games, we got two amazing 1 o'clock games. First on ESPN2, Louisville is at Clemson. Louisville just lost on the road at North Carolina. That was a tough one for them. If you're a Louisville fan, you want to make sure that you hold on to that 4 or 5 seed. You don't want to you see yourself slide to a 7 seed or a 6 seed. That really just would not be ideal for the Cardinals. It's a much tougher path from there. You want the 4 seed or the 5 seed for sure. And if they win this one at Clemson, it really helps them get there. To me, that's the main motivation for Louisville in this game. Clemson, on the other hand, has been awful lately. It's so weird. Clemson has been like the mark of consistency of all teams in the ACC. Their front court's been great. They play good defense for like the first 20 games of the season. It's, oh, we know what we're going to get from Clemson. It's not going to be the most incredible thing in the world. They're not super athletic. They're not going to wow you. They don't have NBA prospects left and right, but they're a consistent team. They're well coached. They play good defense. They're not going to get blown out, but they're not going to blow anybody out. We sort of know what Clemson is like. And then they went on like a 4 game losing streak and played awful. They lost at home to Florida State. It was terrible. So Clemson's really cold. Clemson needs this win, in my opinion, if they want to give themselves a chance at making a run in the tournament. Like they're going to make the tournament no matter what. They have that good of a resume. But if they drop this one on top of dropping all the other ones, it's just setting a bad precedent. Like this Clemson team is really looking like a first round exit right now. And they're sitting on that 8-9 line. But if they could win this game, if they could finish the regular season strong, it gives you some hope that maybe Clemson can have a chance at winning some games in March because it looks really rough right now. Anyway, that game's on ESPN2. It's at 1 o'clock. It's a big game in the ACC. Also for conference seeding, Louisville's not very high in terms of conference standings in that conference right now. This would help them out big time. Shifting gears to the SEC, 1 p.m. Central Time, the same time as the Louisville Clemson game. Vanderbilt is at Kentucky. Kentucky is coming off of that emotional loss to Auburn. They beat South Carolina this weekend, but now they come back home to Rupp Arena to take on Vanderbilt, who I believe just beat Georgia at home. This is an interesting game. This is between projected probably 6 or 7 seed Kentucky and probably 4 or 5 seed Vanderbilt, depending on what bracketology you look at. So this is an interesting game. It's in Rupp. I would be shocked if Kentucky loses this game, but they have lost a couple big games at Rupp already this year, including Missouri and Georgia. So it's not like they're like immortal at Rupp Arena. That's not what I'm saying. But they should win this game. They should defend their home court well against a Vanderbilt team that does have Duke Miles back. Like that's an underrated thing about Vanderbilt. Everyone's been saying, "Oh, Vanderbilt's been sliding. They're not as good as they've seen at the beginning of the year." They didn't have their best player. Duke Miles was injured for a very large stretch of the season. In my opinion, that's why they lost to Oklahoma. That's why they lost to the other team they lost to, Missouri, I think it was. But now they have Duke Miles back. They're playing much better. Putting him alongside Tyler Tanner and then those role players like Tyler Nickel, Devin McLaughlin. This is a good Vanderbilt team. They're going to peak at the right time because Duke Miles is back. This is an interesting one. If Vanderbilt goes on the road to Rupp Arena and wins this game, it's gonna be interesting. We're gonna have to start having a serious conversation about Vanderbilt actually having the opportunity to make some noise in March Madness. But that's what we got for sort of our noon window. As we move on to our afternoon window, some of the games are at the same time. There were a lot of good games at the 1 o'clock window, so I just kind of shoved them in here. At 1 o'clock, CBS Sports Network, Oklahoma State is on the road at Cincinnati. And I know what you're saying, Robert, neither of these teams are in the projected field. Why are you talking about this game? I'm talking about it because these two teams have a chance to play themselves into the projected field. If Cincinnati loses this game at home to Oklahoma State, I am willing to say that their tournament chances are gone, which is a sigh of relief to a lot of teams that are going to make the tournament because I don't want to play Cincinnati at all. They have a fantastic defense. They're talented. They've got a lot of athleticism. And if I am in a 6 seed right now, like if I'm, I don't know, for example, Kentucky, and I'm looking at the 6 line and I'm looking at all the 11 seeds and I see TCU, like, okay, we could beat TCU. Missouri, all right. Actually, TCU terrifies me. Missouri, we could beat Missouri. I don't feel too upset about that. Santa Clara, they're great. They're really cool, but we're more athletic than them. Cincinnati, I don't want to play Cincinnati. They have embarrassed Iowa State. They have embarrassed Kansas. And if they make March Madness, I think they could very much so go on a little bit of a run. Not make the Final Four, not win the national championship, but go on a little bit of a run. So if they lose this game at home to Oklahoma State, I'm willing to say that they are probably eliminated from the tournament. And same goes with Oklahoma State. They're a really fun team. They have some big wins this year. I believe they beat Kansas. I believe they beat BYU. Anthony Roy is their point guard. He's really fun to watch. He's a great facilitator, great playmaker. If they can win this one at Cincinnati, it gives themselves a chance also to try and make the tournament. So these two teams are on their last leg. They need a win. They're doing everything they can do to make the tournament, and these are the big time games for them to play. Also at 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock, it's a big window, guys. If you're free at 1 o'clock on Saturday afternoon, turn on the TV and watch some college basketball because there's some awesome games. San Diego State is at New Mexico. San Diego State just embarrassed Utah State, the best team in the Mountain West, at home. It was not even close. They won by like 25 points. It was crazy. And to me, San Diego State is finally playing at their peak because they finally got Magoon Guath back, who's their center. He's like 7'2". He stands in the paint. They funnel everything to him, and their defense is great because of him. But they didn't have him for a large stretch of Mountain West play. Now that they've got them back, they're starting to find their groove. They're starting to play really well. It's why they dominated Utah State. And now they go on the road to take on New Mexico. This would be a big time win for the Aztecs. I don't know if they're going to make the tournament, even if they win a game like this. New Mexico, on the other hand, is on the bubble. They're in the tournament as we speak. But if they lose this one at home to San Diego State and they have a rough tournament in the Mountain West tournament, it could be rough for New Mexico. They could drop out of the field. So again, this is another really interesting game to see where these two teams are at, where their headspaces are, and who really wants to try and make that push to make the tournament towards the end of the year. And that leads us into two Goliaths of Big 12 games. Kansas is at Arizona. What version of Kansas are we going to get? Nobody knows. Are we going to get Darren Peterson in this game? Probably. Me personally, I think Darren Peterson is getting way too much hate. I have a lot of takes on Darren Peterson, but basically, I think Darren Peterson is the best player in college basketball. He's so talented. He's so good. I think he should go first overall in this draft. If I was an NBA GM, I would take him first overall in this draft. I know people have a problem with him, quote unquote, subbing himself out. But if Darren Peterson wanted, like, he could legitimately say, I have a hamstring injury. I'm not playing the rest of this year. He could sit out and still get drafted in the first 3 picks and make a bunch of money. Yet he's not doing that. I still think Darren Peterson is trying to play through an injury and get back on the court and do as much as he can for this team. I know it doesn't look like that. I understand. There's been multiple times this year where he's gone out of games and seems to not make any effort to get back in them. I get it. But I do think he's such a phenomenal talent, and I don't think that he's just willy-nilly sitting games out because he wants to. That's not the story. It's what people are saying the story is, and I get it. I 100% understand why they're saying that. But to me, there's much more to it than that. But they play at Arizona. Arizona lost to Kansas earlier this year on Big Monday at Fog Allen Fieldhouse. My goodness, just don't play Kansas on Monday. Just don't do it. I don't care. who you are. I don't care if the Houston Rockets, the Houston Cougars, the Oklahoma City Thunder. If you're playing Kansas on Monday, I'm taking Kansas every single time. But this game is not on Monday. This game is on Saturday afternoon. It's on the road in Arizona. I think Arizona should win this game. Arizona is such a consistent team, even without Koa Pete. I think this Arizona team is showing that they're more than just Koa Pete. This team isn't Koa Pete. This team is Braden Burries. It's Delorso. It's Mo Krivas being an absolute stud in the front court. It's Dwayne Aristo getting better and better. That freshman, he's playing really, really well recently. And Toby Awaka is such a force, such an absolute force down there in the paint as well. So I think Arizona's going to win this game, but we'll see. Who knows? Another big time game in the Big 12 at 3 p.m. Central Time on CBS. Texas Tech is at Iowa State. The story about Texas Tech recently is JT Toppin's injury. He's one of the best players in college basketball, if not the best player in college basketball. And he's out for the year with a torn ACL. So Texas Tech's pretty much all of their hopes ride on Christian Anderson, the sophomore point guard, who is one of my favorite players in college basketball. He is awesome. After JT Toppin's injury, Texas Tech has played Kansas State and Cincinnati, and they are 2-0 in those games, a resounding 2-0, might I add. But this is their first big test on the road at Iowa State. Iowa State has not lost at home all year long. Their students do a fantastic job making that place loud. It's a great place to go watch a college basketball game, and their team is great. Josh Jefferson's one of the best players in the sport as well, and Milan Momcilovic is so, so good alongside Tam and Lipsy. If Iowa State doesn't turn the ball over 15 plus times, they don't lose, and they just straight up don't lose at home. So I would be shocked if Texas Tech wins this game. But we'll see. If Texas Tech can go on the road and win at Iowa State without JT Toppin, that is going to spark just an absolute wild stuff happening in Lubbock. Just trust me. If Texas Tech wins this game, my goodness, look out for the Red Raiders the rest of the way. They were going to be one of my final four contenders if JT Toppin was healthy. I think they could easily have made it to the final four with Christian Anderson, with JT Toppin, and with Grant McCaslin. But now that Toppin's out, it's rough for them. But they're going to have to rely more on Lawan Watts. They're going to have to rely more on Donovan Atwell and Jalen Petty. But we'll see. I've seen Texas Tech do crazier things, so maybe they'll pull this one off at Iowa State. But moving on towards Saturday evening, we have got four really good games also in the Saturday evening window. Nebraska is at USC, 3 p.m. Central Time. USC has been bad recently. They were on the bubble. They have pretty much played themselves out of the bubble, and now they have to take on Nebraska at home on Big Ten Network. USC needs this win. They need it desperately if they want to get an at-large bid. I don't think they're going to get it. I think Nebraska's going to win this game. But if USC wants to make the tournament, and their style of play is very reliant on getting to the free throw line and forcing turnovers, they play good defense. Chad Baker-Mazara is their best player transferred from Auburn. If they want to make the tournament, they pretty much have to win this game. At least that's how I look at it. It's 3 p.m. Central Time on Big Ten Network if you want to go check that one out. We also have a huge rivalry game in the state of Texas, the Lone Star rivalry, the Horns versus the Aggies. It's Texas and Texas A&M. Of course, this rivalry's main thing is football, but this is a big time game. It already happened earlier this year in Texas. They're having their rematch in Reed Arena in College Station, Texas. Should be an awesome one at 3 p.m. Central. Both these teams are sort of on the 8-9 line right now. Texas gave a good fight against Florida at home, but they did go down. And Texas A&M is coming off of a couple wins, but they haven't gotten a huge marquee win in the SEC yet. This would not be that at home against Texas. This would not be the huge marquee win. But it's interesting to see who wins this game because these two teams are in very similar spots, not only in the SEC, but in the national picture. And another thing to look at for stakes in this game is seeding in the SEC tournament. The SEC tournament is going to be awesome because there's so many high-level teams in that conference. So seeding is going to be very important to see who you play in the next round if you keep winning. And these two teams are I think they're right next to each other in the SEC standings. A&M is probably a little bit higher because they started off conference play so hot. But that should be a really interesting game. We also got BYU at West Virginia. BYU is one of the craziest teams in the country as well. They lose a lot of their consistency, in my opinion, without Richie Saunders. They gave no defensive effort against UCF. That was rough. They got smoked by the Golden Knights at home. Themis Folks went in there and dropped something. I forget what it was, but it was in the 20s. And AJ Devonsta dropped 29. Rob Wright dropped 20. It was not nearly enough for BYU. So to me, without Richie Saunders, that takes away the defensive consistency, the defensive sort of burning motor of this team is gone without Richie Saunders. as well as that reliable shot maker that you can go to off screens to get big time buckets when you need to get back into games. So no Richie Saunders has hurt BYU a lot. They're on the road. West Virginia needs this win. They just lost to Oklahoma State in overtime. They're probably not going to get an at-large bid, in my opinion. But if they do, they want to win this one for sure. They're kind of in the same situation as USC is. They both have been struggling recently. They're both on the bubble. They've sort of played themselves off the bubble. They're getting good opponents at home. It feels like they sort of have to win these games. And that leads us into an absolute fantastic game of the SEC, another big time rivalry matchup, a ranked game. The Alabama Crimson Tide are on the road at the Tennessee Volunteers, 5 p.m. Central Time in Knoxville. It's on ESPN. Alabama has lost like 5 or 6 straight to Tennessee. Rick Barnes has had Nate Oates' number in Nate Oates' career at Alabama, but these are two fantastic teams. Again, these are two teams that are on the 4 or 5 line that really don't want to slide down to the 6 or 7 line because that would make the tournament so much tougher for them to get through. But that being said, I mean, the fun part about when these two teams play, when Alabama plays Tennessee, this is such a contrast in basketball mentality. Alabama plays so fast. They try and get up shots so much. Their defense isn't very good, but they get out in transition and they just play so quickly. And Tennessee, on the other hand, wants the game in the dirt. They want to play slow. They slow down the tempo. They make you beat them in their half court defense, and they make you stop them in their half court offense. They play ferocious defense. They're really aggressive. They're a great rebounding team. And they have one of the best players in college basketball, one of the most underrated freshmen in the country, who I think could be a top 5 NBA draft pick in Nate Ahmed. He is a stud. I honestly think you could make an argument that he is the third most raw talented player in the college basketball area right now as a true freshman. He is unbelievable. He's like 6'10". He's an amazing scorer. NBA scouts compare him to Kevin Durant, which is not a very often that anyone gets compared to Kevin Durant. So that's impressive. But this is a really interesting game for sure. Again, another big time game for SEC seeding in the SEC tournament. I think Tennessee's going to win. It's at home. Last time these two teams played in Knoxville, Jemai Mashak won it with a half court buzzer beater. That was awesome. So I think Tennessee's going to win this one against Alabama to sweep the Crimson Tide once again. But Alabama could win it. I mean, you never know. Alabama could get hot. They've got a lot of talent. They've got a great offense, which leaves us with Saturday night. There's some great games on Saturday night, starting with Villanova at St. John's, a very important Big East game, a bounce back moments for St. John's. They just got absolutely embarrassed against UConn. Can they come back on their home floor and take down Kevin Willard's Villanova Wildcats to get themselves back on rhythm before the Big East tournament starts? Villanova and St. John's are 2 of the 3 teams that are projected to be in the field right now from the Big East. So this is an interesting game to see where both these teams are at. Two great defensive teams, 2 teams that love forcing turnovers, 2 teams that are well coached. Should be a fun one in Madison Square Garden on Fox at 7 p.m. Central Time. Also at 7 p.m. Central Time, Arkansas is at Florida. Florida will still have the 1 seed in the SEC if they lose this game, thanks to a victory over Texas. But this is going to be a really interesting one. To me, I've watched Arkansas in person. They are so athletic. They are so talented. They've got so many 5-star athletes. Their offense is amazing. Darius Acuff is, for my money, the best freshman point guard in the country. I know Kingston Flemings is awesome. I love watching him too. But Darius Acuff is such an animal. Malik Thomas, if he gets hot, good luck. But the thing is, this Arkansas front court is not elite, and they're going up against the best front court in the country by far. And the Florida Gators, Florida is just red hot. They've been smoking everybody. If Arkansas can compete in this game on the road at Florida, that will be very telling to me about this Arkansas team. But they could very well get smoked against Florida on the road, like Alabama did, like A&M did at home. I mean, Florida has been an absolute buzzsaw in this conference. So to me, for Arkansas, I think that their March Madness road is very matchup dependent. If they go up against teams like them that want to score a lot, they play really good offense, but not a lot of great defense. I think Arkansas can handle that and win those games. But if they go up against a team like Florida that defends at a high rate, that crushes you on the glass, I don't know if they can compete with a team like Florida. So if they do, that will teach me something new about this Arkansas team. But if they do anything like what they've been doing recently, they should easily win this game and prove that they are still the best team in the SEC. But again, we never know. We'll see what happens. Darius Acuff could drop 50 in this game, and Arkansas could still lose. Who knows what's going to happen? It should be a fun one over there on ESPN. Also on ESPN2, Virginia Tech is at North Carolina. Virginia Tech has pretty much played themselves out of the bubble as well right now. They're on the road at UNC. This would be a big time win for them to pick up. I don't think Caleb Wilson is playing in this game. UNC is sort of prepping him to come back for the Duke game, is what I've heard, which is at the very end of the season in about 2 weeks. So expect for Caleb Wilson to return that weekend, not this one against Virginia Tech, but still should be a fun game, 7:30 Central Time on ESPN2. If Virginia Tech doesn't win this game, it's going to be rough for them to try and get an at-large bid. In fact, it's probably not going to happen. So it's a must-win for the Hokies. And for UNC, it's just another game, to be completely honest, which leads us to our nightcap at 9:30 p.m. Central Time. St. Mary's just crushed Santa Clara at home. It was a big win for the Gales. Now they're on the road at Gonzaga. They are 0-1 against Gonzaga this season. Gonzaga has been fantastic in the West Coast Conference. I think if they win this game, they clinch the West Coast Conference regular season championship, which again, this is the last year Gonzaga is in the West Coast Conference. So it'd be great for them to seal that. And they're at home against St. Mary's. They should win this game. I don't know if they have Braden Huff back. I haven't watched a Gonzaga game in a minute. I don't think they have Braden Huff back. But if they do, it's going to be even worse for St. Mary's. I do think Gonzaga is going to win. I don't think St. Mary's matches up very well with the athleticism of Gonzaga. That's why they lost their first game. I think they're going to lose once again. But I just love when St. Mary's and Gonzaga are playing because it's always on ESPN. You can always turn it on when it's always at like 9:30 or 10 o'clock after everything else in your night has finished. You can turn on your TV and watch some elite West Coast Conference basketball. So I wish I could be doing that on Saturday night. Unfortunately, I won't be able to watch, but that's going to be a really fun one. And that does it for us. That does it for the weekend preview. It should be a great weekend, as it always is in college basketball. So with that, I wanted to say thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a blessed weekend, a blessed day. Thank you just so much for even being a part of this video. And if you take anything away from it, it is not that I love college basketball or that I won't be able to watch the games this weekend or that I think Duke or Gonzaga or whoever is going to win. It is that Jesus Christ loves you. He died on the cross for you, not just for all of us, but for you watching this video. That's how much he loves you. And if you ever need anything, if you're ever struggling in this life, if you ever feel anxiety or sadness or anger or whatever it is, just always keep in mind that no matter where you are, what you're doing, or who you're with, Jesus will always love you and he will always be there for you, no matter what. And it is never too late to accept Jesus as your Lord and your Savior and to ask forgiveness of your sins and to live a life that we are called to live, which is one with God in fullness and just in complete union with Him and His love. So once again, thanks so much for watching. God bless. Hope you all have a great weekend, and I will see you all in the next one. Thanks for watching.